Yeah, g'day YouTubers. Tinker O'Toole again with another video. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to sharpen hedge trimmer blades. They should last you quite a long time, as long as you keep them out of the dirt. They won't get damaged, but if you get them in the dirt, they're liable to get damaged and go blunt very quickly. Now, this particular model is a HSA 50. It's 500mm in length. The teeth are razor sharp, right? If you want to keep them razor sharp, every now and then you're going to have to spend a little bit of time sharpening them. Now, I do have a Steel USG grinder, but there's no way known that I'm going to get the attachment and grind the teeth with a grinder. The teeth don't have a lot of meat on them. They've only got about an 8-degree angle. So what I'm going to do, that when they need sharpening, I use a file, a high quality file, and then I use a diamond dresser. And the file is it's a raker gauge file, all right? So it works quite good. The angle that you've got to file them at is at 45 degrees, and we can zoom in there and have a little bit of a look. Right, we'll zoom in there. Now you can see that angle. You see that angle there? That's the one that we sharpened up. So if they only need to be sharpened slightly, you don't need a file. You only need a file if the edge feels like it's got some burrs or got some damaged. What I like to use is this diamond dresser. You can see it's got a flat section there and it's got a round section on it here. Has a little slot in it as well. That's actually good to sharpen up fish hooks. The round section on here is good to get right in the edge there. So it's just a matter of, if you've got a diamond dresser, this is made by Smith's. Right, there's a company called Smiths and they make a lot of diamond type dressers, so it sort of looks like a bit of a pencil holder, and if you take it out, the other end looks like that. So what we need to do now is that you put a bit of water on here, right? Spray it with water. Anytime that you use a diamond lapping type tool, always use water. Now, the secret is holding this at the correct angle, which is a 45-degree angle. So make sure if you come to the side, if you come to this side and look with your eyes, and then just go backwards and forwards slightly, right? Just go backwards and forwards, and you'll see where you're taking the metal off. So all I'm doing is lapping this in, and right in the corner, I can use the rounded section and just give it a bit of a touch. Just a bit of a lapping. Now, a lot of times you'll feel a slight little burr underneath, and that's just a matter of just getting this and just rubbing it backwards and forwards, just a little bit. Feeling it there, that is razor sharp. That catches my skin. And that's all it's required. It's really that easy. The last thing you want to do is take this down to your steel dealer and let them put a grinder on it. Quickest way to stuff them up. Now, the other thing that's interesting, if you look at a tooth, there's not a lot of meat left here. The width here would be lucky if it's about 8mm, but if you look right in the middle, you start grinding that away, that's going to come to a point. It's like a knife. If you sharpen a knife up, you don't take a grinder to the knife. You use a butcher's steel, or you use a diamond dresser to sharpen to get a nice edge back. And that's my recommendation, that you use some sort of diamond dresser like this. It doesn't matter what you use, but you don't want something too big. This is just, what would it be? About 6mm, maybe 7mm, 6 or 7mm wide. The width here is probably about 20mm. So you can get a really good rotational action, and just make sure that you start on the back first. So in other words, you start off on that. Let's just say that's the tooth angle, my finger. You start off there, and you'll see where you start to remove a bit of the varnish and gum, and then just lower it down until you're rubbing exactly on that 45-degree angle. This is not going to remove a lot of metal. All it's going to do is sharpen it up. And that's what we want to do with this. We just want to sharpen it up. Eventually, if you use these on a commercial basis, you're going to have to strip the whole blades apart and separate them. And on the bottom plate, you probably need a sheet of glass, and you tape some sandpaper, some emery paper, wet and dry, about 600 grit or 320 grit, and you can rub that on the glass surface so that it will remove any little burrs off there. It's one of these things that can get little burrs or little microscopic nicks on it. You can actually do it to the blades as well if you run it on very fine paper. But make sure you put the paper sticky, tape it down to a nice sheet of glass, probably at least 1.5 feet in length, and then you can move this over the glass, because glass is a very flat surface. So, look, you could possibly do it if you wrapped some sandpaper up in a sanding block, but a sanding block isn't as flat as a piece of glass. That's why I recommend doing it on a bit of glass. It's a little bit awkward, but all you want to do is get off the micro burrs, and that's why I suggest using something like this. So when we talk about sharpening hedge trimmer blades, all we're doing is putting a slight edge back on there. If you have to use a file, right, only use a file if there's some damage here. If there's no damage, then you don't need to use a file, unless they've been totally neglected over the years and they do require a file. If that's the case, sometimes a smaller file that's only 7 millimeters wide but very fine, so you might want double cut, so you want a very fine file and a high quality file, and you're just going to do that ever so slightly. But just pay attention that you do get some burrs underneath, and you need to get them off, and that's why I like to use the diamond dresser. The diamond dresser is very gentle, and that's why I prefer to use a diamond dresser than a file where possible. But there are situations where you will need the file. So hopefully that's a good tip for the homeowner out there if you've got a set of these. The last resort is to take them down to the steel dealer, because I know they'll put them on a grinder and they'll take too much metal off them. And they'll come back, and you'll be losing so much metal off there, it's not funny. So yeah, that's the last resort. Never let someone put a grinder to them. There are other methods. I've seen people use a Dremel, but if you do use a Dremel, you're going to have to be very steady with your hand, a bit like a dentist. You've got to be very careful what you're doing. They do work. If you do use a Dremel, make sure that you've got a very, very fine stone. You can actually also get diamond in the Dremel. But if you do have diamond, turn it down on the lower speed and use water. Water is critical when you're using any diamond type lapping tool or any type of diamond grinding stone. You don't want the highest RPM, and you want I always have a squirter bottle like this. This is just full of water, a little bit of soapy water, and you just squirt as you go. Keep that water as a lubricant. Anyway, I hope that information helps. It's just another tip on how to keep your hedge trimmers in tip-top sharpness without pulling them apart, just by using a simple diamond dresser. And we'll just show you what the packet looks like in case you want to go to your hardware store and pick one up. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Smith's Diamond Retractable Sharpener. So that's the packet that it comes in. Pick it up at your local hardware store. Look, it may have been $20 or something like that. And you can see diamond coated. It's got fish hooks, tapered rod for serrations. Look, fantastic little tool. I like to have a whole series of diamond tools and lapping tools. Makes it a lot easier. Now, when I spoke before about running, when these blades are separated and you could run it over a sheet of glass with a very fine emery paper, you could also use something like this. This is a diamond stone. So you could wet this with water and you could run it over here to remove any fine burrs. You'll always get burrs, so it's a great idea to use diamond stones if you've got one. If you don't have any diamond stones whatsoever, well, then you're going to have to use a sandpaper on glass. This is another diamond sharpener. It's a lot smaller, so it's really good to get in those little tight spots, especially in the corners like that. We'll just pull it out and have a look at it. It's only about, what, 3.5 millimeters, maybe 4 millimeters. It's exactly like the other one. It has that flat section here, and then it has that rounded section on there, and you've got that little groove in there, which you can use that for fish hooks. So you can get right in the corner on the rounded section. You could still use this if you wanted to on the flat section, so there's no reason why you can't use it. It's just that it's a little bit small. Again, make sure that you use water. So this one's called Easy Lap. I think it comes from America, actually. Yeah, so Easy Lap do make a lot of products. It's like that other one that I had, that larger stone, diamond stone. That was an Easy Lap as well. So there's the larger stone, which was an Easy Lap diamond sharpener. And one of the reasons that I really do like using this is that it covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teeth. So when you put it on there, you cover quite a lot. I do have a smaller Easy Lap, but it's a little bit too small. You could use it, but it's a little bit too small. It only covers about 3, but you could use it. There's no reason why you couldn't. Sometimes you just got to use what you got. But these Easy Lap, that's what they are. They're called Ease Lap, and they're diamond, and they're really fantastic to sharpen knives, little chisels, little things like that after you've used an oil stone. So that's the final touch that I use. But especially with these, don't take a grinder to them unless absolutely necessary, because there's not a lot of metal on there. And if you take grinders to them, you're going to reduce the width of the tooth dramatically. And these should last you 10, 15 years if you're a homeowner. And every now and then, you just need to sharpen them up occasionally. They don't require enormous amount of sharpening. Different story on a commercial basis. If you're using something like this and you're a professional, most cases they probably just use them till they wear out and they just buy another set of blades for them. Anyway, I hope that information helps. That's the way that I sharpen them, and hopefully avoid using a file where possible. That's my final tip. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.